All right, so pretty exciting news today. After dealing with several lenders for a few months on my personal deals, as well as several of my clients, we finally decided to take action and say, hey, let's put this thing in our own hands. So, what have we done here? One of the things that I've added is private lending. So, if you don't know what private lending is, and essentially anytime you go to a hard money lender or whatever, those are funds. So you're borrowing funds from an individual or a company that has a fund, and they charge sometimes higher than usual interest rates, but there's a few advantages of it. If you're an entrepreneur, one of the things that especially in real estate, because of the depreciation, because of all of the expenses, other things that are involved with operating the business or operating the properties that you're running, sometimes you don't show a lot of income. So sometimes it's harder or more difficult for you to qualify for bank financing. The other thing is speed, right? In today's market, especially, the last thing you want is to spend 60, 90, 120 days going through all of the lending processes and submitting documentation and sending your tax return multiple times and resending that information and them telling you, hey, now we need this thing. You want speed. A lot of these private lenders, they're able to close on deals sometimes as fast as 7 to 10 days. I mean, on average, it's still, I would say, about 15 days because there is title work. There's still an appraisal. But again, there's advantages to that. So two things that we're going to do here. Number one is, if you are in a position that you're under contract, you're looking to close in the next 10 to 15 days, and you're looking for private lending, again, the deal has to make sense. This money is not going to be just given out to anyone. There's still minimum criteria that have to be met. The appraisal has to come in. The property and all your comparables still have to be there. So you have to know what you're doing. It's not like there's just money out there to give. So number one, if you're in that position, DM me. I will be updating some links here as I finalize some things in compliance and legal and everything else over the next couple days. So you'll see that from me. Number two, if you're in a position, a lot of people right now, believe it or not, they have anywhere from 10 to million, 10,000 to millions of dollars sitting in a bank account, sitting in an IRA, sitting in a 401k, sitting in a certificate of deposit, a CD, earning them less than 1%. I know some IRAs and 401ks average it out 3 to 4% a year. If you're in a position and you have those funds, and number one, you want to be a lender, a direct lender, where you have a couple of things. Number one, you're providing a service where you're making interest on your money much higher than what you are right now. So again, if you're making 1% on a CD, you could easily be making 8, 9, 10, 12% on the same money on an annualized basis doing private lending. Just like the banks, you're going to get an appraisal, so you're going to see what the property is worth. There's going to be a loan to value. So if the property, let's say, is worth $500,000 and you're lending $350,000, well, your money is secured by this asset that is worth $500,000. The next thing is insurance. Just like the banks, right? You have insurance. That's going to be insured in your name, listing you as the lender, as the beneficiary. So if there's a claim, if there's fire damage or whatever, you get that. So again, just like the banks have their requirements, this is no different. The biggest difference is now you are the lender. You're helping that investor who is going to go there and either do a fix and flip, or maybe, it's a multifamily or rental position where they're going to improve it, rent it out, and then they're going to go back to the bank and do more of a conventional mortgage because they need that product to be performing in the sense of getting monthly revenue from tenants, and right now it is not, so that's why it's more difficult for them to get those loans. So again, multiple things that we're working in. I'm excited to bring this to you. Some of the funds, some of the deals, I will actually be funding myself with my personal money. Obviously, if you're looking for more than about $350,000, we'll reach out to our network. And then the good thing is, with this syndicate, we could pool money together. So let's say you have 100,000, I have 100,000. somebody else has 100,000 and we have an individual that is looking for $300,000 loan, that's how we could come together as a syndicate and lend them at, let's say, 8% interest for a year, secured by a real estate asset, fully insured with our names on the, on the loan documents, with our names on the insurance certificates, so we're protected. So again, it's that whole mindset of going from an employee to a self-employed to a business owner to now becoming an investor. So this is a different way of investing. You're investing into individuals, you're investing into deals, but you're doing it with, I don't want to say less risk, but maybe less work, right? You still have to do your due diligence. So again, this is something that isn't necessarily new for me, but it's something as a service that we're going to be adding to our thing as a team here. Because again, the last thing, I just dealt with a transaction where we were literally under contract since April and we're closing at the end of the month, and 3 different banks said, yes, let's do it. We submitted all of the paperwork, and then literally 2 weeks before closing, they said, hey, you know what, the interest rates have changed, so now we're no longer doing this as a portfolio, and we're not interested in servicing your loan. And then I had to go find another bank. So after dealing with that on 2 to 3 different occasions, I went direct to a private money lender, send them the documentation, send them the appraisal. They like the deal. They like my experience. They like what it is that we're doing. They see the business plan. They see the insurance. They see all of that stuff. And we're closing in September 30th. So that's what, 10 days from now. So that's how fast it is. Does it happen like that every single time? No. Sometimes you have to bring them additional information. Sometimes the deal just doesn't make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, the best thing here that I'm going to tell you right now is, because of my experience, because I've been in the construction industry, because I've been in the structural design and the architectural industry, because I've been in the real estate industry, I see deals and I see what it takes to do a deal. The last thing that you want is for somebody to tell you yes, give you the runaround, and 30 days later they come back and they tell you no. So guess what? With us, what you're going to get is a 24-hour review period where literally in 24 hours or less, if us directly or one of our syndicate groups or somebody else can't do it, we're going to come back and tell you, it's like, look, at this price point of whatever you have locked under contract, at your experience level, at the market that it's in, at the appraisal, at the comparable values, this property just doesn't make sense to us. We're not the best fit for you. Wouldn't you want to know that fairly quickly so you have options and you know how to move forward, versus spending days, weeks, months working with somebody to then for them to tell you no, right? So that's really what this is going to be about. It's about giving you a determination fast, and if it's something that can be done, working very, very quickly on getting that deal closed as soon as possible so you can go and do whatever you want to do, renovate, improve, rent out the property, whatever, and that investor also gets a higher interest on their money versus having it sit out there with a 401k or a CD or an IRA or whatever. So exciting news. Right now, based on several people that I've talked to, I think this is limited to about 48 out of the 50 states. And then there's a couple of other states which we have referral partners that we can refer you to. But again, the biggest thing here with us and with me personally, what I'm going to be providing you is a quick turnaround. 24 hours or less, you'll know, yes, this works, or no, this doesn't. And the other thing is, if you have a deal, we're still actively purchasing. We're growing the portfolio. We're always looking for things to add, for projects, for ways to build up equity, right? This business never stops. So if you have a deal, if you're looking for a business partner that knows what they're doing, that can bring their not only knowledge, but sweat equity, their connections, contact me. I'll be happy to do a deal with you. And again, if the deal doesn't make sense to me, I'll just tell you right then, hey, sorry, this doesn't work. I had a gentleman from Hawaii that reached out. It was a $1.4 million property. The price point doesn't really scare me, whether it's 1.4 million, 14,000, 14 million, or 140 million. These are all just numbers, right? Don't let the numbers scare you. But what ended up happening is that with this specific scenario, with what they were looking to do with Airbnb, I was not the individual right for it. They wanted to take not really a luxury, but a semi-luxury property, convert it into Airbnb, and they were hoping to get $10,000, per week for renting this out. That's not my specialty. So right away, I looked at the deal and I said, look, the property values around there are selling between $850 to $1 million. This property is 1.4. The pricing doesn't make sense. Now, if you're able to get it at 850 or even below 850, where you're buying it below market value, then this is something we could look into because we have options, right? If the Airbnb doesn't perform, with the minor improvements that they're going to make, they could resell it, get their money back, and we're out of the deal fast, quick, and it makes sense, right? So again, the deal has to make sense. So that's the exciting news for today. Got to get back here, a few phone calls coming up, and that's it. That's the update for today.